Hello one, hello all. It's the most Iron Maiden ghost of them all, Casper in the flesh, and it's time for a review of Lewis Cole and the Metropole Orkest with Jules, Buckley, Nothing. This is the latest album from singer, songwriter, multi-instrumentalist, one half of the jazz funk duo Knower, and quite possibly a member of the avant grind clowncore group, clowncore, maybe. And Lewis Cole's music has gone through a lot of changes over the years. He really won me over with this 2018 release, Time, which was super groovy, super quirky, super fun, that was loaded with synth funk bangers, sweet ballads. The follow-up, though, unfortunately fell flat for me, mostly due to the fact it just felt like a compilation of unfinished songs, half-baked material, way too much filler and undeveloped tracks. Now, with this new album, Nothing, is certainly a departure from Time, and I would say a departure from the last album he put out, but there's actually an orchestral rendition of one of the tracks off that album, which is Let It Happen, which to me gives more extravagance and more beauty to the track. There's also the two-part Who Cares, and personally I prefer the latter, as I feel it takes more of a psychotic, epic turn, with these puncturing, jagged strings that sound straight out of a Psycho movie, which certainly have a few occurrences on this album, but I feel they work in tandem with Lewis's vocals, especially with them being so staccato and falsetto on this track. And on this album, I'm getting a good amount of tracks here that are dexterous, smart, nimble, and a rigid blend, or expansion I should say, of the synth funk genre. Funk jazz as well, but it's classical. And there's progressive pop in here thrown into Cole's repertoire, with some very ornate but gargantuan moments here, with a lot of compositions, lustrous refrains. And I feel vocally we are getting the same breathy falsettos here, but I think Cole is expanding a little bit. But at this point, with the synth funk elements, the jazzy bits, it's pretty much in Cole's DNA at this point. And he's still working with atmosphere. He's still working with dynamics. Like, to me, there's always been an awkward aesthetic to Cole's music, but of course with atmosphere and dynamics worked in as well. And for a majority of this thing, there's a very dark presentation here. And also Cole has also gained a knack for his dark sarcasm, his dark humor, or pessimism on the track Things Fall Apart, where he goes, "Yes, understood, things fall apart like they should, this little shred was good, don't think it through, things fall apart, they always do, at least some things always true." I'm worried about that guy. I'm worried about that guy. Also, when it comes to influences, there's no doubt you're getting shades of Michael McDonald, Doobie Brothers, Prince, and with the ambitious orchestration this time around, I'm also getting elements of maybe Stevie Wonder. And again, while this thing is certainly instrumentally classical, he is still working in the jazzy bits here. He is still working in that freaky jazzy instrumentation. And not to mention funk to keep it alive, and some art pop as well. And upon listening to this, I'm wondering what's next. I know I'm not done with the review, but Cole has really reached a different level when it comes to his music here, his sonic landscape. So it has me wondering what is next in the context of his creative expansion. Because this is certainly grandiose, this is definitely progressive in sound, technical and well crafted, and I think the album's strengths is with its variations, its dynamics, but also Cole's personality too. And with that amalgamation and that mixture you have going, it really strengthens the tangibility of this album, which leads to this album having its high points. I do think there is inconsistency in the track list though, but we're gonna get through the highlights first. The album kicks off with the epic, groovy, enchanting Things Fall Apart. Of course you get like the classy intro, which to me is pretty much, I would say, not one of my favorite tracks, but it does set the mood of the album. But things really do start cooking with gas once we get the actual song, the epic, groovy, and enchanting Things Fall Apart, where he puts an exuberant veneer on doomerism. Because it seems to me Cole is having these dismal, depressive statements that really do have hints of Murphy's Law, but it's presented in such a jovial way. And the percussion on this thing, the pacing of this thing is very, very unexpected, but it flows really nicely, which brings a great impactful chemistry between the instrumentation and the vocals, especially with how various they are. And I love the manic, futuristic, and anxious life. I love the laundry list of robotic refrains that are on here, which is like a to-do list of life's expectancies, experiences, emotions, feelings, events, which could be tumultuous, and also the ebb and flow of feelings and emotions here. Be here, be lost, go through, a lot, pass on, forgot. Yeah, I know. Cole does it better. Cole does it better, I know. With jagged string hits I was referring to earlier, with angular rhythms, pumping bass, enchanting synth lines, and the way the blaring sax lines come in are great too. There's also the very melancholy moment here, the very somber moment, the interlude, which is the title track, which is ironic because this thing is purely orchestral, and honestly the opposite of nothing. But I guess due to the fact there's no vocals present, no funk present, no jazz present, I guess I could kind of see why the title is fitting, but it is incredibly moving and gorgeous. The latter of the track, Who Cares, is vastly different from the first one, going in a completely direction, as the first one is kind of peppy, kind of colorful, psychedelic. It's very Thundercat coded. That takes us into this heavenly ascension that is instantly bombarded by this giant violet walls of sound with large horn hits, cycle-like string shots that go into nightmarish Twilight Zone territory. It's like Euphoria to absolute horror. The song High Five is another beautiful moment for me. It's very brief but still effective, and a lovely string-layered heavenly cut, which is some bold horns surrounded by the dreamy instrumental bits. The hushed but beautiful and intimate vocals between him and Genevieve of the group Knower, of the duo Knower that I was referring to earlier. It's a touching, heartwarming, heart-wrenching track of no matter what their location is, they'll always be together, they'll always cherish the good times they've had together. And there's also These Dreams Are Killing Me that takes things into a more groovier and lighter direction sonically. A song about striving to prosper and happiness and maintain that while simultaneously being burdened by disparity. It certainly captures the aesthetic of staying strong during the tumultuous obstacles of life. There's also Shallow Laughter Bitches, which has these absolutely intimate, stunning falsetto vocals, very string-kissed, but bursts into these wild, distorted guitar lines that gets hit with these dizzying, blaring sax lines that get more crazy as the track intensifies. There's also the orchestral version of Let It Happen, as I alluded to earlier, which honestly to me captures the album's aesthetic here. I feel it really captures the album's direction and the feeling of it, where the world is crumbling around you and you're definitely feeling very pessimistic, not so optimistic, and it's pretty much acceptance, like you're just letting it happen, and while you're letting it happen, you're also being comforted at the same time. Like this track and this album, it's pretty much moments like this where the album just feels like a big hug. Like, hey, we know the world's burning, we know it's on fire, we know it's going to shit, but take this hug and let it happen, and everything's gonna be okay. Everything's gonna be okay. I feel there's beautiful sections of this track, there are soothing sections of this track, there are gorgeously enamoring parts of this track. It's majestic at points, it's enchanting at points, and it's just a lift up to this just wondrous ascension. And through these builds, we get these dreamy strings, gorgeous sax arpeggios, adoring kid choral vocals. The whole track is just awe-inspiring and honestly therapeutic, and something to hum to yourself when someone or something angers you. Oh yeah? You got anyone in mind? You've been gone for I don't know how long, and you have the nerve to ask me, do I have anyone in mind? No. No, I don't. Oh, okay. For a second there, I thought you were mad at me. I guess not. I got a boogie. Sean's an idiot. Also, I want to mention here, the sound definitely feels more full on this album, and definitely more vast. And for the most part, Cole's vocals do consist of sweet melodies. They consist of personality. There are moments, though, where the tracks do tend to meander and serve more as interludes and moments that I could have done without, and that do take up a majority of this record, unfortunately. Or some tracks do come off kind of tacky, like Cruisin' for P, where it just sounds way too campy and loungy for my taste, where all I picture is canes, top hats, and jazz hands. It's not my thing. There's also the track that was maybe a little too weird for me, Weird Moments, where Cole's vocals are just so dry and don't really match well with the instrumentation, as he tries to go with this speedy rap cadence that just doesn't really work. And again, the mix on his vocals are just so dry, super flat, it sounds like a demo. And honestly, the album should have ended with Let It Happen, which has so much finality and beauty and serenity to it. I don't know why you would have added extra tracks to the end. Because the last two, to me, just feel like add-ons that I don't think are as strong as Let It Happen, nor do I think are as strong as the highlights here. I can say, though, Cole has certainly brought an expansion, a creative, a sonic expansion to jazz and funk, synth jazz for the most part, and is able to make it enjoyable, quirky, fun, moving at points, certainly a variation of emotions here. And again, another creative addition to the synth funk and synth jazz genre. I'm feeling 3.5 black hearts on this. I am Caspa. I am your plug. Show me love. Hit me with a sub. Caspa, Gothic Ghost, Lewis Cole, Metropole Orkest, Jules Buckley. Till we meet again.